Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm not supposed to be here, so pretend I'm not if you don't want me to be here. But I, I have a quick invitation. Well, it's not a very important invitation. I had a quick announcement, but that will be made by Joan later on. But I have a very important announcement, which is next Sunday, December 5th, the first Sunday of December, we would like to invite all the parents to stay between services, between the 9 and 11 o'clock service. So just about 10 o'clock, 10:15, we invite the parents to stay, and all the adults that are involved with children and youth religious education. We'd like to invite you to stay, and we're going to have a conversation with all of you. So please take this invitation to your heart, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Enjoy, have fun.
Thank you, Alex. Now, the announcements. First, I invite you to acknowledge that we are gathering on the ancestral land of the Nisenan and Southern Maidu people. We have assisted listening devices available at the entry of the sanctuary for anyone who could use some assistance hearing things. Thank you for wearing your mask over your nose and mouth. You are always welcome to step outside during the service if you need to get some fresh air. We also have additional masks in the church foyer if you need a fresh one. If you have not done so yet, please fill out the newcomer welcome form on the church website, mysfuu.org, so that we can learn a little about you, and you can find out more about what's happening each week here by receiving our e-beacon, our weekly e-newsletter. We also invite you to receive a newcomer's welcome packet on your way out if you didn't get one on your way in. And newcomers and those interested in learning about becoming a member are invited to join us today at 12:30 in the social hall for lunch and conversation with Reverend Alex and members of our membership committee. A couple of more quick announcements. Stay tuned for an email and the e-beacon for details on participating in the Festival of Lights parade next Saturday. SFUU will have a float in the parade, and we normally gather here at the church around 3:30 or so and get our entry organized. Please stop by the social justice table in the foyer or outside if you would like to participate in supporting our holiday family, which we'll hear more about during the service. And now I invite Leah to welcome us into our sacred space for worship.
Good morning, and welcome to the Sunday morning services of the Sierra Foothills Unitarian Universalist. My name is Leah Florence, and I am so glad to be here with you today. Whether you are here in person or watching at home, I'm joined today by our amazing technical crew, our fabulous music director, Patty Leffridge, and our wonderful director of religious education, Adrian Dills. Our services cover a wide variety of topics to help us explore different spiritual paths, as well as what it means to promote freedom, justice, and equality for all. Services are usually led by Minister Rev. Alex de Silvia Soto with worship partners from our congregation. Each Sunday is a little different, however, every Sunday here resonates with the same love and care to support you on your spiritual journey. So if this is your first Sunday with us, I invite you to come and visit us more than once to gain further connection with who we are as a faith and a congregation. It is our purpose to nurture the individual spiritual path of each person and build a common faith based on our shared core values, which include recognizing the inherent worth of all people and the quest for justice and equality in our community and the world. In this congregation, we ask you to bring all of who you are, all of your questions, your yearning for peace and justice, your worries and your joys, so that these may be shared in our community. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we invite you into this community of searchers and seekers. And now, please silence your cell phones so we may be fully present in this time and place. Let us worship together. And for our chalice lighting, our opening words are Letting Go by Jay Wolin. Are we a people of holding on or of letting go? Holding on to rigid ideas or letting go and opening our minds and our hearts to something new? Holding on to certainty of how things should be or letting go and living with the uncertainty of new ways of being in the world? Holding on to what makes us comfortable or letting go so we may grow, which can be uncomfortable? Holding on to what makes us safe or letting go to make room to help others feel safe? With this flame, this symbol of our religion, let it be a symbol of burning up the ties that hold us back from being our true self and reaching our true potential. Let it be a symbol of lighting a new way for us into a better tomorrow. And let it be a symbol of letting go, because holding on too long and too tightly is never good for the soul. Please rise and hum or move to the music of our opening hymn, Hello.
Hello, beautiful today. Hello, beautiful now. Hello, beautiful sunshine, honey. I love you and how. Hello, beautiful me. Hello, perfect right here. Hello, wonderful day that's waiting. Goodbye, doubt and fear. Hello, beautiful today. Hello, beautiful now. Hello, beautiful sunshine, honey. I love you and hello, hello. Hello, beautiful me. Hello, perfect right here. Hello, wonderful day that's waiting. Goodbye, doubt and fear. Bye-bye now. Hello, beautiful today. Let the sun shine. Hello, beautiful now. Let the sun shine. Hello, beautiful sunshine. I love you and how. Hello, beautiful me. Let the sun shine. Hello, perfect right here. Let the sun shine. Hello, wonderful day that's waiting. Goodbye, doubt and fear. Bye-bye now. Hello, beautiful day.
Just to share, that woman was a guest minister for us during Zoom, and she is a musician, and her name is Leah, and I kind of freaked our Leah out when I put it in the program and said, "Leah's doing an opening song." I am not prepared. But anyway, her name is Leah. You can find her online. She's an amazing, amazing musician and minister. So you guys, I know you guys are going on a hike today, and that song makes sense. Get out and enjoy the beautiful sunshine. It's going to be a beautiful day. So today we are talking generosity. Generosity means, in a basic form, when you're willing to share or give something to someone with no expectation of anything in return. And that generosity can be something you do, something you give, something you share. All right. Once in a village, there lived a very poor man. He sat weeping in his cottage, and he had no money left, nothing to feed him or his aging wife. All they had between them was one old sack in which there remained just a small few handfuls of rice. And after that, they had nothing. He was as low as he could possibly go. And as his wife tried to comfort and console him, but he just wouldn't listen to her. And then one day she had an idea. She said, "Oh, my husband, you should go and see a great saint. I have heard the saints are so generous and they will give you something of great value, I am sure. And then we can sell it, and with that we can buy food for ourselves." Well, when he heard this, the poor man's heart lifted and he became filled with hope. "Yes, tomorrow morning," he said, "I will go." And he inquired and found a village quite a way off where there lived a great saint. So in the morning he set off on foot, carrying his little sack with a few handfuls of rice. And he walked for hours and hours and hours, but his heart was very happy, for he felt great hope. When he arrived at the village, he noticed a very strange man walking down the road, just smiling and singing to himself, simply dressed. When one of the shopkeepers rushed out of his shop and came over to him and said, look, that is the great saint, and he lives in our village." The poor man looked again, but the man walking towards him was such a simple man, so simply dressed, just smiling and singing to himself. And the poor man began to feel very disappointed. Where were all the riches going to come from? Certainly not this man, that was for sure. How his heart sank and all hope fled from him. But as the saint got closer and closer, the poor man thought, "Well, I've come all this way, I might as well just try." So he approached the saint, and he was just beginning to tell him of his sad and terrible plight when the saint looked at him with those bright eyes and said, "What offering have you brought?" Offering? Offerings, thought the poor man. He stumbled and stammered for a moment, and then pulling his meager, ripped-up sack out of his pocket, he said, "Well, just a little bit of rice." He hadn't expected that a great saint would ask him for something, for an offering. He was poor, couldn't he tell that? He was a great saint. And his disappointment grew. Figuring this saint had everything that he could afford, and he could afford to be more generous than the poor man. So the poor man took out the tiniest pinch of rice that he could, and he placed it in the palm of the saint. He didn't want to give away any more than he had to, because he didn't really think this man was in any way able to help him. And as he placed it in the palm of the saint said, "You can go home now." And the poor man turned around and walked away. Well, the poor man turned and retraced his steps home. He walked very slowly for hours and hours. He felt very, very despondent. That means really sad. His hope was crushed. When he got home, his wife was waiting for him at the gate, and she rushed up to see him, so delighted. "Oh, husband, did you see the saint?" Sadly, the poor man said, "Yes, I did." But nothing happened. "Look," he said, opening the sack, "I have returned with even less than what I left with." As he tipped the contents of the sack onto the table, he was feeling so angry now with that saint and with his wife and her foolish ideas. But as the grains of rice clattered into the bowl, he saw a lustrous gleam. And amid the rice were pearls, huge, beautiful, shining pearls, exactly as many pearls as grains of rice that he had given the saint. "Oh, alas," he cried out, "why didn't I give him everything?" So that's your story for today. Ponder that as you go to your RE class, and you can talk about it with your teachers and have a wonderful time on your hike. Patty, play the kids out. In this community of mutual care, we celebrate the great joys of life together. And we also share our sorrows in order to share the burden of sorrow and grief. And as such, each week we share specific joys and sorrows from the lives of our members. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like to share on Sunday, you can email it to joysandsorrows@mysfuu.org. By the way, that's our web address. And you can do that at any time with what you would like to share, or you may also, any given Sunday morning, write your thoughts in this book, and we share them. We do share them publicly, so we ask that if you are sharing a sorrow or a concern for someone else, that they're aware that you're going to make that a public offering to our community. This morning, Kathy Tritel shares with us that she is happy to celebrate her 60th birthday this week. And Patricia Caspers also celebrated a 50th birthday, and she is very grateful for her beautiful birthday book launch and for everyone who was able to attend and share that moment with her. We also have a sorrow or a concern. We have a former minister, Tom Lewis, who has been in the hospital in Eureka all week with pneumonia, but he is recovering and doing well. So we ask that you hold Reverend Tom Lewis in your thoughts. I invite you now into a time of meditation, reflection, and prayer as we listen to a video called Draw the Circle Wide.
Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide.
Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Besides just loving that song, the video which shares imagery of the loving spirit and soul of this faith community, I thought, what better expression of generosity can there be than to draw the circle wide? For the idea of drawing the circle wide means that you are continuously opening up to all who will step inside the circle, whatever it is that you are wanting to share, your commitments, your passions, your generosity, or your love. For when that circle continues to draw wider still, there is little room for those in your circle to stand alone. Today, we speak to the power of generosity. What is it to be generous? Is it a physical act of kindness? Is it a financial act of support? Is it a loving gesture of caring towards people we know, or a passionate commitment to strangers? Clearly, to me, it is all of these things. Like most human ideals and endeavors, there are many facets to what it means to be generous. To live generously, to give generously, and to love generously. For some, this is likely to come easier than for others, but I do believe that generosity is as intricately woven into the fabric of our humanity as much as ideals like commitment and compassion. And while the ideals of such facets to our human nature certainly come easier to some than others, often especially love, I do believe they are inherent to our human souls. I say this because my understanding of child development shows us that as tiny fledgling human beings, we are all born open and inquisitive, and it is only through our learned behavior do many of our natural inclinations adapt in ways that perhaps close us off or make us more cautious. But even for those who have built protections to ensure safety for their emotional hearts and souls, I see living proof of generosity in everyday experiences, as all of us experience at one time or another, being on either the receiving or the giving end of someone else's generous nature. This doesn't necessarily mean that all of life is filled with the big wow moments of generosity where someone gives you an action or a physical gift that forever changes your life. What I mean by this is that there is both evidence and opportunity in our everyday lives that create for us those times, like the chalice lighting poem said, those times in which we feel called or comfortable to let go of a part of self in order to provide a need for others. It is in that letting go that our generosity can bloom. We know, too, that this is not always easy because we all have strong protections to care and provide for those closest to us first, before finding possibly a comfort zone in the pursuit of care and provision for others. Being human is very humbling, as much as it can be uplifting, and it is often seeking the balance between the two that can drive us towards finding purpose outside of our comfort zone. In this way, I see generosity as a tool which helps us to drive the loving spirit in our souls. It is most common for us to think of generosity in financial terms, or an economic exchange of capital for an action. And we have words for that like philanthropy, altruism, and charitableness, all big words. And in every way, we should celebrate financial generosity in the world, for it is through the complexities of economic exchange that we develop organizations that aid others, feed the hungry, elect politicians, and create awareness for world changes. Joan will be sharing in her reflection how she draws these circles of generosity in her life, adding strength and support for her values and beliefs through larger group support. And this is so important, as we all know that monetary generosity does indeed assist us all in building a better world for everyone. But I wanted to offer the additional reminder to each of you today that generosity comes in so many forms of value, and for us never to lose sight of understanding how the smallest actions of generosity are the seeds that often grow into greater works. American author Kent Nerburn states this very well in his book, Simple Truths, a clear and simple guidance on the big issues of life. He says, "Giving is a miracle that can transform the heaviest of hearts. Two people who moments before lived in separate worlds of private concerns suddenly meet each other over a simple act of sharing. The world expands, a moment of goodness is created, and something new comes along into being where before there was nothing. For true giving is a generative act. It does not subtract from what we have, it multiplies the effect we can have in the world." We know this to be true, for I feel confident that there is not a person in this room who has not been moved at some point in life by an act of generosity. If we continue to remember that at its root, being generous is quite simple. It is the effort to be kind, to be willing to give up something of value for nothing in return. We tend to think of generosity as something big or especially meaningful, or as a definitive motion towards creating goodness in your soul, when in reality, it can often be the most simple of any action you could take. And I believe that connecting with this UU faith provides us an easier path to living generously. For here we do not live it alone. When we embrace and work to live our UU principles together in the world, it means that you are working to live into your best self. And by doing so, you will always find support and encouragement here to share what inspires you, to practice your passions, and in doing so, generosity will flow through your actions. Changing the world comes in all forms. Your way will not necessarily be my way, but we are all watching and we are all learning from each other, even when we are not aware of it. Because you may not realize that others are watching you too, and you are having an impact even when you may not even realize it. I have been lifted here within this church community more times than I can say. I have observed those who don't even bat an eye to take one more thing on their plate when their plate is already stacked full. And these unobserved moments are most often the most influential moments in which that little light that we talk about all the time spills out from you and into the life of someone else. Some years ago, my daughter Shelby gave me a poem by a woman named Mary Corzone that has stayed with me forever, in teaching me how much one person's generosity of spirit can influence another. She adapted the poem some to reflect her life in our family, but I would like to share it with you as a reminder to you that all of your influence is always present for others. It is titled, "When You Thought I Wasn't Looking." When you thought I wasn't looking, I saw you feed the wild birds, and I learned that it is good to be kind to animals. When you thought I wasn't looking, I saw you make my favorite cake, and I learned that the little things in life are special. When you thought I wasn't looking, I saw you give your time to help someone who needed help, and I learned that caring is what makes us better. When you thought I wasn't looking, I saw you take care of our house and our family, and I learned that we have to take care of what we are given. When you thought I wasn't looking, I saw tears come to your eyes, and I learned that things hurt, and it's okay to cry. When you thought I wasn't looking, I saw how much you cared, and I wanted to be everything that I could be. When you thought I wasn't looking, I learned that most of life's lessons that I need to know to be a good, productive girl when I grow up. When you thought I wasn't looking, I looked at you and wanted to say thanks for all the things I saw when you thought I wasn't looking. So carry your light out into the world your way, because someone is always looking. When we make a commitment to generosity in any form, our lives have impact and our beliefs gain substance. And when we support one another on this journey, we can only motivate our hearts to more. Thank you.
Carry it on to your children. Carry it out in the street. Carry it on to the ones you love, out to the ones you meet. Carry it light on your shoulders. Carry it deep in your soul. For we have been blessed with magic, and the magic will make us whole. Carry it home to your children. Carry it out in the street. Carry it on to the ones you love, and on to the ones you meet. Carry it light on your shoulders. Carry it deep in your soul. For we have been blessed with magic, and the magic will make us whole. And the magic will make us whole.
Very sweet. I have to say, I'm not a kid person really, but I love seeing this pile of children. I mean, the pile of children seems to grow every week. I don't know where they come from, but anyway, I love the pile of children that we have here. This is a reading by Sharon Salzberg, The Power of Generosity. When we think about generosity, most of us probably don't think immediately of a powerful force, an inner resource, a real tool for changing how we relate to ourselves, to others, and to our world. Instead, we may think of it similarly to how we think of kindness or compassion, qualities that are gentle, tender, potentially self-effacing, and more aligned with weakness than strength. This is because we think of generosity in terms of giving something up for someone else. This implies at least some degree of self-sacrifice. Generosity generates its power from letting go. Being able to give to others shows our ability to let go of attachments. It might be in our nature to think that object is mine for X, Y, or Z reason. But we choose to let it go through the cultivation of generosity. It is that choice that we carry ourselves to a state of greater freedom. Our attachments might want to put a cap on our generosity. I will give this much and no more. But it is through the practice of generosity that we learn to see through the attachment. Generosity is a movement towards freedom. That is why generosity can be a force, a resource, a tool. Whenever the Buddha was teaching lay people, he would always begin with a teaching on generosity because it can bring so much joy and self-respect. Generosity is the bread and butter of feeling connected in our lives, to ourselves, to others, and to life. That's the end of the reading. I'm drinking your water. You might have thought it was yours, but now you feel better for giving me that water. I am a person that gives money to people in the street who ask for it. It could be someone sitting outside the grocery store with a sign, someone at an exit ramp offering to clean my windows, or someone who just asks if I have any change as I'm walking down the street. This is a practice I picked up from my friend Lisa, who was one of the most open-hearted people I have ever known. She truly saw inherent worth in every person and could not look away from a person in need. I might have asked myself, is this guy really homeless? What will he do with this money? Does he really need help? I'd hate to waste $1 after all. After careful consideration, it's a gamble I'm willing to take more often than not. I would rather hand him a dollar bill than sit with the uncomfortable knowledge that I looked away from someone declaring himself in need. What does it cost me spiritually to purposefully look through or past someone who's asking for help? When I pretend not to see another human being, it has a steeper cost to my soul than a measly $1. But while I do give to the needy stranger I pass on the street, I also know that my generosity has a wider effect in the world and touches more people if I give through an organization that is working to promote my values in the world. Here at SFUU, we work with local organizations that are working to promote our values and vision in this community. And we share our weekly collection with 3 such organizations through our Share the Plate program. The 3 organizations for the past year have been the Auburn Interfaith Food Closet, which provides food assistance, NorCal Resist, which advocates for undocumented people and asylum seekers, and Sierra Streams Institute, which works on watershed restoration in the Foothills area. These organizations extend my generosity beyond just those who are able to reach out to me on the street, and they help people in ways that I couldn't on my own. I agree with Brazilian educator and philosopher Paulo Freire when he said, "True generosity lies in striving so that human hands need be extended less and less in supplication, so that more and more they become hands which work and can work to transform the world." We often hear this philosophy expressed by the adage, "Better to teach someone to fish than to give them a fish." And this is true, but it takes time and resources to learn to fish. There are many systemic obstacles in place that keep people from learning to fish, as it were. Racist hiring practices, inadequate schools, unmet health care or housing or food needs. These are problems I never faced because I was born with many advantages in this society, in a family that already knew how to fish. This serves me with an obligation to be generous to those in need as a show of gratitude for all that I have been given. So I want to be generous to our Share the Plate partners as well as to SFUU. Our Share the Plate partners provide assistance of both the giving of fish and the teaching to fish variety. The Auburn Interfaith Food Closet gives food assistance to families who need it when they are short of food in a given month. And NorCal Resist has a Holiday Adopt a Family program that identifies families who are struggling financially and could use a boost. This year we have been matched with a family of 7. We will provide some gifts from their wish list, but we will also provide gift cards because we want to show them the respect of agency to determine how best to meet their own needs. Our Share the Plate partners also provide the teaching people to fish variety of assistance through education, lobbying activities, and organizing. NorCal Resist and Sierra Streams both do this kind of work to make long-term changes for the benefit of us all. Today we will have an opportunity to share our financial resources with the Sierra Streams Institutes, and I hope we will reflect on what this work is worth to us before we decide to let the plate pass us by. I know I will be thinking about it. Like most of you, I grew up in America, and I'm pretty well steeped in our culture of belief that we must compete for limited resources, that someone else has more than we do, that we may lose what we have, and we must hold tightly to it. But the practice of generosity opens us up to beloved community connecting people through a mutuality of giving and receiving. Buddhist writer Joseph Goldstein says this about the relationship between generosity and consumerism. The practice of generosity can serve as a corrective to addictive consumerism. Generosity enacts the quality of non-greed. It is a willingness to share, to let go. It may be giving of time, energy, resources, love, and even in rare cases, one's own life for the benefit and welfare of others. Generosity weakens the tendency of attachment and grasping and is intimately connected with the feeling of loving kindness. People who experience the power and joy of generosity will also experience its effect on consuming. The cultivation of generosity offers a very strong antidote to the wanting mind and would be a powerful corrective if taken up in widespread way across our culture. Wise words from Mr. Goldstein. Giving is, for me, both a statement and expression of my faith. I give in all the ways I can, and from all the means I can give, with thoughtfulness. I give to strangers in need. I give to groups working on behalf of people I don't know. I give to my congregation with its mission to transform its members so that we may transform the world. I give to Unitarian Universalist organizations such as the UU Service Committee and our Chalice Lighters program, so that my monetary statement of faith is amplified by merging with the gifts of others. I give because I choose not to harden my heart when someone in need reaches out to me. I do feel like I give generously to the church and other organizations, but I give what's comfortable for me, not what's possible for me. Again, having been raised in a culture of never enough, I have a fear of not having enough money in the future, so I hold on to resources to guard against this outcome. But what if it's not money I won't have enough of in the future? What if justice and equity are what I won't have enough of? I watch the news and I see gun rights being expanded and voting rights being eroded. Only tiny steps are being taken to address the climate crisis. Billionaires compete with each other to spend the most on rockets and the least on taxes. So why aren't I feeling more urgency about supporting groups that are working to support my vision and values? To make sure there is an SFUU working to provide our future youth with the world we want them to live in, so that this pile of pillows will always be here. I don't know the answer for myself, but today I'm going to start by thinking about what Sierra Streams is worth to me before I sit and watch the plate go by. Are clean streams worth what I would spend for a cup of coffee, a dinner out, a pair of shoes? Last Sunday, Reverend Alex showed pictures of the things owned by average income families around the world, and we could clearly see that Americans have enough stuff. So should I not buy the shoes? Or should I buy them and feel guilty? Reverend Alex also said that feeling guilty wasn't helpful. So what would be helpful? I think it's okay to buy the shoes or the coffee, but I should be giving an equivalent amount in time or money to promote justice. I can think of it sort of like buying a consumerism offset. Just as corporations can offset climate damage from their CO2 emissions by buying carbon offsets, maybe I can offset some of my consumerism with generous donations to SFUU and the groups we support. That way, after I buy the shoes, I will still have a just and equitable future to walk towards. I will close with these words from UU Minister Cecilia Kingman. The question is whether we want to live our lives fearfully, trapped in the consumer mindset of our era, or do we want to live lives that are full and free and give us a sense of purpose and wonder? She continues, I believe it is our best hope and a sign from the land of enough that you here and our friends in congregations all over the nation are engaged in these questions. This work of generosity calls us into deeper communion with each other and with the world. It calls us to be larger, stronger, and braver than we ever imagined we could be. We have enough. We have one another. These are the ancient tasks of religious people, to trust the wonder of the universe, to use our lives to serve the good, and be a blessed comfort to one another on the journey. Thank you.
It is often said that the offering is the gift of the free church. That is to say, everything this congregation is and has is only what we bring to it, our time, our talents, and our treasures. In person, this is embodied by the powerful ritual of literally passing the plate and chipping in. With our online services, however, we ask that you contribute to our collection after the service by going to our website or using text to give. As part of our ethic of generosity, we also split our monthly collection with a local community organization aligned with our values. This month, the Share of the Plate recipient is Sierra Streams Institute.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow, a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Editor Rebecca Laird, in The Heart of Harry Nouwen, quotes from this Catholic contemplative book, Sabbatical Journey. Generosity cannot come from guilt or pity. It has to come from hearts that are fearless and free and willing to share abundantly all that is given to us. And as Joan also shared from UU minister Cecilia Kingman, we have enough. We have one another. To trust the wonder of the universe, to use our lives to serve the good, and to be a blessed comfort to one another on the journey. May it be so. I invite you to rise once again for our closing hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy